Hello and welcome to West Country Wanderings. Welcome to Geo Park Way number 4. Today the whole of the section of the walk will be in the county of Worcestershire, but later on the walk we'll be heading into both Herefordshire and finally into Gloucestershire, where we'll be ending the walk of the Geo Park Way some 107 miles after we've left Bridgnorth. Anyway, that's all in the future. We're not going there today. Earlier on today I drove to the village of Abberley, which is going to be a walking destination. I parked my car near there, but not near to where our final destination is going to be. We'll actually be finishing the walk near Abberley's church. Now Abberley is actually quite a large village, not in terms of population, but it's very spread out. In terms of where we're starting the walk though, I'm starting the walk here in Stourport on Severn, because that's where we finished last time. And that there is good old Sabrina. So what we need to do now is head back through, following the river, to the bridge here in Stourport. And we need to cross over the bridge, because if you remember last time, the Severn Way goes south from here to Worcester on this side of the river, but the Geoparkway follows it on that side. So we need to cross over. And when we go on a little bit further, following Sabrina, we should be seeing some caves. Now they're very special caves. They actually date way back to the Stone Age. So I'm really excited to look for those. A key feature here on the Geoparkway. And incredibly, they were lived in all the way through to the middle of the 20th century. So hope you join me again here on West Country Wanderings on Geoparkway 4 from Stourport on Severn to the village of Abberley here in Worcestershire. I just spotted this poster here in Stourport, event that's happening in Bewdley, just a few miles away from here. 15th of June 2025, supported by Transition Bewdley. Join a river procession and service to honour and help revive our River Severn, Sabrina of course. Hear how polluted our river is, which is really quite depressing, isn't it, to hear that. And discover how you can help restore it. There'll be a climate choir performance and river inspired activities for all. Starts at 1 o'clock by Dog Lane car park there in Bewdley, just over the way. And I'll see if I can find a link to that and put in the description of the video here today. So it's only just a few days away. I'm filming this on the 6th of June. And you'll be familiar with that, but not only from last time when we finished the Geopark Way, but also the Severn Way. So this time this is the bridge that we need to go over the other side of Sabrina and down the other side of it, following the river for a little while before we head up into the Abberley Hills. So it looks like we need to go up this spiral staircase. Just noticed, I always like to look out for these things, that the staircase was built by F. Bradley here nearby Kidderminster. And there we are, looking back down at the good old River King. Sorry about the traffic noise, there's a traffic queue which is often queued up on the bridge here. And there's River Severn, now in the middle of it. Now it looks like to start our walk, we head down the steps here and then go under the arch onto the other side of the road. So we're now walking past the front of Stourport's Boat Club here on the River Severn. And now see, we've crossed over the bridge and we're on the other side of the Severn. I love those arches on the other side as well, which carry the road entering the town centre here in Stourport on an embankment. Well, it kind of protects the road in times of flooding. Just to point that out there, that goes into a basin there, not part of the actual canal system, but it's one of the navigable sections here off the River Severn. We'll be seeing where the Staffordshire and Worcestershire Canal comes out into the river in a moment. And there it is, just a couple walking across the bridge there that goes over the canal. That's the Staffordshire and Worcestershire Canal going into the basins here at Stourport. And that canal takes you up to the city of Wolverhampton, right up into the heart of the West Midlands. And down on the right, navigable section of the River Severn, down towards Worcester and Gloucester. So we're still walking by the River Severn here in Stourport, just on the edge of the town now. I think we're coming up to a place called the Walshes. I don't really know what the Walshes means. I've come across that term in other places here in the West Country Wanderings region. And today the logistics were slightly trickier because of the public transport situation. Now, Abberley is on the main road between Worcester and Tenbury Wells, somewhere we have been before here on the channel. Did a monthly vlog from there. Delightful town, spa town in Worcestershire. And so there's a direct bus. It's only about 4 or 5 a day, run by a bus company called Yarrington Brothers. So I picked up a bus from there heading towards Worcester, but got off at Holt Fleet, where is a bridge over the River Severn. And then coming in the opposite direction, there's a bus from Worcester to Bewdley, stopping at Stourport, which is run by Diamond Buses. I can't remember the names of both those services, I'll drop them in. But Yarrington Brothers, absolutely smack on time. Very friendly bus driver there, so Yarrington Brothers, a big thumbs up from me. That was excellent service and seemed to arrive in Holt Fleet in no time at all after getting on the bus outside the post office, Abberley there. Very friendly lady in the post office there too. I bought a couple of items for my walk today, and now she just said make sure you stick your hand out and give them a big wave to make sure you want to get on the bus. So anyway, we're going to continue along there towards these caves. Something to point out over there, that is the bridge which carries the Severn Way. In fact, we walked over that bridge when we were heading south to Worcester from here, and that is the entry point of the River Stour into the River Severn. Now I have a little bit of Geoparkway news. First of all, a little bit of bad news. Since leaving Stourport, in fact even in Stourport, I haven't seen one single solitary Geoparkway sign, which is a little bit disappointing. They want to encourage people to walk this and to explore the geological features of which we've got a very important one coming up ahead. No signs in Stourport at all. But what I can tell you is over the next few weeks and months there'll be some new Geoparkway signs, in fact interpretive panels arriving. There'll be one in the gardens, the Jubilee Gardens there in Bewdley, near the museum, and the kitchen cafe, garden kitchen cafe. So that'll be happening. There'll also be one at a place called the Wishes in the Malvern Hills, and another one in the city of Gloucester, which is our ultimate destination on the Geoparkway. So they'll be arriving, giving you a little bit more information about the Geoparkway if you want to do all of it like I am, or just sections of it. Well, obviously we're doing it in sections. I think 107 miles in one day would be a little bit ambitious. But yeah, because I take my time with it, because obviously filming it takes longer. You can't do longer walks, which you perhaps could do if you're doing it on your own without filming and photography and that kind of thing. But I always think if you do kind of do it as a speed walk, you're going to miss what's happening in the surroundings as well. So that's really exciting, but as I say, a little bit disappointing there's no signage in and around Stourport promoting the Geoparkway, but we will continue along this way. These are the amazing red sandstone rocks here, redstone caves, and I say they date back to the Stone Age, obviously not all of them, and they've been carved in previously. You can see people have carved graffiti into them. There is actually a fence that runs around the outside of those. Somebody's like knocked out to the panel, it wasn't me, knocked out to the panel, so you can actually walk up to them. I think people, or the council, whoever owns this section of land, doesn't want people either squatting in them or living in them, and of course they can be dangerous, particularly in like a time of a storm, so I don't really want to enter into them. But you can see these amazing shapes here, just absolutely magnificent and incredible. Wow. So I've just come around a little bit more here from where I was. Sorry about the poor lighting and being covered with leaves. It's very dense tree growth here. But yeah, you can see some more in there, and they go back some way. And they do say that at one time as many as 500 people lived in this incredible hermitage just by the banks of the River Severn and outside the town of Stourport. So there are many of them. So I was next to that one there. You've got another one here, and there's many, probably about 10 or 15 dotted around, and you can see other bits and pieces that people have carved out. Perhaps some of that might be natural erosion. I love that tree there that's just growing out the top of the cliff here. Just absolutely wonderful. So we're going to say goodbye to these amazing rocks here, sandstone rocks, obviously similar to what we see Devonian, but the Triassic period here. And that is the River Severn. We're going to say goodbye to Sabrina for now. We'll be seeing Sabrina later on the Geoparkway, near the end actually. Well, that's comforting to see. I've just climbed up quite steeply. I don't know how many metres above the River Severn. Now on this open common. As you can see, the Geoparkway turns left once you reach the top of the steps. So I couldn't show you that. I was out of breath. Very steep indeed. But we're going this way now. Absolutely gorgeous open space around here. It's a wonderful spot. It's obviously on a common here, but I don't know the name of it. I'll drop in. It does have a name indeed. That wasn't the direction of the Geoparkway. It goes this way to our first village, which is called Abberley, where there is a vineyard and much else besides. Well, I'm really enjoying the first part of part 4 of the Geoparkway so far. Got this wonderful common, so I still can't find out the name of it, but wonderful feeling of open space, not unlike when we're walking across Hartlebury Common towards the end of Geoparkway 3 as we're entering Stourport. But we don't have the sand on this one, so it's a different geological time period. As I say, the red sandstones we're walking on top of at the moment are Triassic. Now I just see our Geoparkway marker again, so this bit is very clearly marked. I don't understand why the bit in Stourport itself isn't marked at all, so we're going to veer off to the left and follow the line of the top of the cliffs that parallel the River Severn. We're about 50 metres above sea level at the moment. We were almost at sea level when we were on the River Severn just then. So yeah, it goes from 0 to 50 in a very short bit of time. So although it's not steep, it does it very, very quickly. But we will be climbing up to greater heights later on in the walk today. Here we have the Larford Lakes and River Complex, so if you're a fisherman person, then a good place to come fishing. There's a specimen lake and a match lake, as well as an arena lake, and fishing on the River Severn. Park in there, open all year round by the looks of it. I'll insert the map now so you can see exactly where we are. Now, I think at this point we're being sent down a different route. This is the road to a place called the Berth, which we saw on the Severn Way, but from the opposite side of the River Severn. And here it looks like there is a newish style and sign Geoparkway. Tell you about the Geoparkway, which you know, obviously you've been following this video series. So we need to go over this style and walk that way, which will take us away from the road, but we'll still end up getting to the same destination. Well, hopefully anyway. Well, the hill over there is called Abberley Berth, which is between, yes, you guessed it, the Berth and Abberley. I don't entirely know what the Berth means. I know there's an outdoor centre there, residential centre for children from the Dudley, West Midlands area, owned by Dudley Council, I do believe. But yeah, and Abberley is obviously to the right of that. So let's continue. So now we have a delightful wooded section here. This is Lower Astley Woods. We're still on the level, so we're still walking parallel to the line of the River Severn, although it's about half a mile over that way at the moment. And about another quarter of a mile along here, we'll be heading up, which will be our climb up into the Abberley Hills, which is where things get really, really serious here on the Geo Park Way in terms of height climbing. So we're still around about 50 metres or so above sea level, above the line of the river. And as I say, we'll be starting our big climb shortly. Well, I've walked through Lower Astley Wood, made my way up to Upper Astley Wood. It's all extended around there. Some dense pine trees, lots of ferns, as you saw me walking through there. And it says this area is called the Forge, but I can't see any evidence of a forge here. I still haven't found either somewhere suitable to have a break to sit down and have my lunch. So I'm going to keep walking through Upper Astley Wood. And then I think it comes into Lower End Wood, and then we then cross over the main road between Stourport and Worcester, although not following along it thankfully, going across that and then going on to the village of Astley. Now as I walked on, I found some bricks in the footpath here on the Geoparkway, evidence obviously of a former building, and I said that this area was called the Forge, so I was on the lookout for perhaps ruins of a building. Wow, I've certainly found something. Have a look at this. Well, look at that. 1652 Astley Forge. So obviously remains of the building hereabouts. There is a big indentation in the wood here, so perhaps this was part of where the building was. And on the other side of it, I don't know if there was water. I think there might be a stream that's running through there, but it's been so dry that it's probably dried up at the moment to provide water power for the forge. I don't know anything about Astley Forge. Hopefully I'll be able to find something on the internet and have that scrolling across the screen now. But that's brilliant to see that. Fantastic. Astley Forge, 1652. I found the stream. This would have been the water course here. Very low water levels in it at the moment. But yeah, that probably provided water power for the forge here in Upper Astley Woods. Another thing that struck me about this, it may not just be bricks from the ruins of the building, but this may actually be an early brick paved road, because this would have been an access road down to the forge. So the forge is just at the end of this wider section of the track here, which is part of the footpath of the Geopark Way. And as I say, it does look like these bricks were actually lying deliberately into the track bed here, presumably so horse and carts could go to and from the forge itself. So this has now brought us out at, as you can see there, Wood End, which is a house, Bridleway, and the edge of the village of Shrawley. You might be able to just make that out on the sign there. We need to cross over this little bridge over the stream. This is the main road between Worcester and Stourport, the B road. In actual fact, the other way, because I caught the bus along here early this morning heading in that direction, you'll notice that the road is deeply dug out of the hillside and the red sandstone rock. So the bridge I've just gone over is Glazen Bridge, and it was built by Worcestershire County Council in 1925, replacing an earlier bridge on the same site. And we need to go along this bridleway now. You can see the landscape is changing a lot around here now. Interesting building ahead of which I know nothing, other than the fact it's called Glasshampton Monastery. So yes, a monastery for monks there. I don't know what type of, whether Dominican or Cistercians, I don't know. I'll see if I can find that out and put it in the usual way below. But yeah, there's a couple of vans that have been coming up and down, presumably with supplies for the monastery, so it sounds like it's still open along this track, which is a no-through road track. And behind it, of course, there is magnificent wire forest, but we'll be heading off kind of to the left and up and in the middle bit to get to our destination today, the village of Abberley. So we're still climbing. I think I said back there we were 25, then 50 metres above sea level. I think we're now about 80 metres, although we'll still be climbing today. The highest peak on the Geoparkway, of course, is the Worcestershire beacon on the Malvern Hills, but also significantly high is the one at May Hill as well, and Herefordshire beacon. So we're covering all of those on our walk later on, but not today. I don't know how high it is when we finish today's walk though, so I'll drop that in when we get there. But just savouring this as we're walking up towards the monastery. Glasshampton, interesting name. The other interesting thing is that quarry that I pointed out earlier in the video, which I said was at, where did I say it was? Shelsley Beauchamp, by the motorsport place there. Seems to be getting closer, so I'm thinking maybe it's not Shelsley Beauchamp or Shelsley Walsh, but the one, I think it's called, I was reading the Geoparkway notebook last night, I think it's called Shaver's End Quarry, where there's lots of fossils, but what the accessibility of that quarry is like, I don't know, but we'll have a look when we get closer to it. Well, as you can see, we need to go right, a little Geoparkway sign under there, towards Glasshampton Monastery. I found a little bit about it. It's a house of prayer, the Society of St Francis, that's abbreviated to SSF. It says, as in all our houses, our life here revolves around three ways of service of prayer, study and work, but the particular emphasis is on daily prayer centred on the monastery chapel, so we have a closer look at that, and the ministry of welcoming those who visit and those who come to stay, brothers and sisters in the love of Christ. It does say that it was originally a stable block, not built as a monastery, for a neighbouring mansion, but that was burnt down and now stands ploughed into a field alongside the stable block. So let's have a closer look if we can. Now the countryside is getting more and more remote and more beautiful. That's Astley Church we're going to be heading to shortly. I think we'll be taking a very late lunch break there. The Astley Church actually will be well over halfway on our walk today. But this is Glasshampton Monastery here. So that was the stable block. What on earth did the mansion look like? Certainly very grand. So it was actually founded in the early part of the 20th century. I think his name was Father William Seary. He came from the East End of London, obviously in a very built up, very urban, very poor area. But he felt motivated to create a retreat in a very rural area, and certainly this is a very rural area here in Worcestershire. And so he created this, and he actually lived here, setting up the community for over 20 years. And his life work continues here at Glasshampton Monastery, here in Worcestershire. Well, the clock at Astley Church has just struck 2 o'clock, although I actually make it a little bit later than that, but never mind. This is a beautiful, beautiful location. It's so peaceful and quiet. In fact, this graveyard here, Astley, has won numerous awards, including from the Campaign for the Rural Environment, CPRE. It's won Top Village in Worcestershire a few times. It's small, but beautiful and perfectly formed. I've just had my lunch here, sat in one of the many benches that dot the churchyard here, looking at the beautiful countryside. It really is absolutely gorgeous around here. Just loving it. Now, the last walk I did, Geoparkway 3, not the last walk I did, but the last Geoparkway walk I did, was quite urban in nature. Obviously, we sort of had lots of variety. We had old railway lines and canals and rivers and all of that, and it was really interesting. But you were close to two towns. But here, you have none of that. It's just, I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it, and just soaking up the atmosphere. This church here, I can't remember all the facts, so I've just taken this out of the church. I will return it in a moment. It was founded in 1102 with a priory nearby, so it was Astley Church and Astley Priory. Now, the priory itself, there is only one small remain of that, and that is the well here, Astley, which I hope to be able to go and see shortly, which is just to the eastern side, the way we're walking, I believe. There, yeah, so just below the church. So hopefully we'll be able to find and have a look at that before we make our way on to neighbouring Abberley. Number of other features here. It has a fantastic Norman arch front around the front door. In the early part of the 20th century, they built a new porch here, black and white, traditional black and white, in what you normally see in this part of both Herefordshire and Worcestershire, around it. So so that was built around it, but that also is befitting. Also in the churchyard you have lots and lots of different types of roses, both wild roses and hybrid cultivar type roses. Yeah, there's so many, I don't know the names of them all, but it just looks absolutely magnificent. A few other facts for you. The doorway, as I say, was Norman. The tower is original, contains 6 bells, just heard some of them there, and it was fought from the 18th century, and 2 bells from the 19th century. Total weight about 2 tons. It was actually restored in 1992. And on the wall is a hatchment to the Moseley family. And also it says there's something called the Havergale goblets on the wall, made in 1979 to commemorate the death of Francis Ridley Havergale. I don't know who Havergale was. Obviously, a prominent family in this part of the world, this part of very rural Worcestershire. Find that information again. I'll put it in the usual way below. The main arch is early 20th century, and you've got around the outside you've got the south wall below eaves are carved corbel-stones. Many are original, and there's also a blocked priest's doorway. Unfortunately, I won't have time to explore all that today, but I'll include some photographs, they should be popping up around about now, to give you a flavour of what the church looks like here at Astley. I'm really enjoying this walk here on Geoparkway 4, and I have to say I need to give credit here to I think they're called the Hereford and Worcester Earth Trust, because that society trust, I think they're a charity to promote geology. They actually formulated the Geoparkway, I think, towards the beginning part of the 1990s. And I think the route that they've chosen, I know we haven't walked all of it yet, is outstanding, because it picks out and highlights all the features along the way. You can really appreciate what you're walking through. I mean, last time I was blown away, wasn't that, when I was walking on that sand there at Hartlebury Common, and this time had started off with those caves there by the River Severn, which we didn't see last time because they were on the opposite bank of the river. And then of course you've got that cutaway and that cart track down there at the Warren there, just after the other side of the monastery at Glasshampton there. So that was amazing to see, and much else besides. So they've really chosen a fantastic route. We're about 80 metres above sea level now, and I think we'll be rising up to about 110, 120 before we get to the village at Abberley. As I say, Abberley is a little bit complicated. I parked my car at a place called Abberley, the Common, which is where the post office is and where the bus stop is, but Abberley, the village, where the church is about a mile away from that, which is where we'll be finishing this section. And then you've got Abberley Park and Abberley, there's other bits as well, so it's a quite spread out village. The other thing to say about Astley though, before we go on to Abberley, is that round about here, not sure exactly where, is Astley Hall. And Astley Hall was once the residence of a very famous man in this part of Worcestershire, namely Sir Stanley Baldwin, of course, who was a Prime Minister. I think he was born in Bewdley. Now, we have seen before his statue in Bewdley there outside the museum. and I think he died actually at Stourport Hospital. I'm not even sure that's there anymore, but he died in at Stourport. But he's buried at Worcester Cathedral, about 10 or 12 miles to the south of where I currently am. And yeah, but he lived around hereabouts. If I can include a photograph of Abberley Hill now where he lived, I'll include that now. I'm not sure if the woods that we went through, remember we went through Lower Abberley and Higher Abberley or Upper Abberley woods where we saw the forge there, Abberley Forge. Not sure if that was originally part of that estate. It may well have been. Anyway, let's continue the walk here onto the village of Abberley. I think this here is Abberley Mill. That's beautiful, isn't it? Rain's just started here. We're following the road down, going over the stream down this lane, and I think we turn off onto the footpath to carry on the Geo Park Way. Well, I did think the walk was going very, very well. I have just double checked. Yes, this is the Geoparkway, and yes, that is completely overgrown. It's got this Himalayan balsam stuff here, but beyond that it's thickly covered with bramble and nettle as far as the eye can see in between those trees there. So unfortunately I can't continue here from Abberley Mill, following the brook, nice it was with those gardens, and have to return to the road and go on a slightly different detour to catch up with the route of the Geoparkway again. But I've managed to find a track, well it's just a cutaway through the grass. Further up, the Geoparkway is actually down there through the woods, but as you saw it's completely impenetrable. So I'm hoping that this path track through this field is going to bring me out the same point. It's called the Dick Brook and we're heading for the Dick Brook Bridge on the main road. Well, we need to get the other side of it, so fingers crossed we can get out this way, otherwise we've got a big detour ahead of us. I'll just give you a quick recap. So I've come through that field there, yes, down there. The Geoparkway official route, which was blocked as you saw by that balsam and bramble and nettle, actually comes through the wood here, so we can pick it up again. So we've joined up with the route now, and it does look like it's now passable once more through this bit of woodland till we get to the road. Thank goodness for that. Following this road up until we get to End Quarry. That's the quarry I spoke about earlier on. So we were on this road for a little bit, I think about half a mile, something like that, and we're turning off a path and then striking up across the ridge of the Abberley Hills and into the village itself. So yeah, apart from that little setback there with the Himalayan balsam being so overgrown, it's been a delightful walk. I felt the walk, and the only problem in this area, like we saw at Stourport, the sign seemed to have gone missing, whether that's to do with the landowners or just fallen off or whatever, I'm not sure, but maybe I'll send a message to the Hereford and Worcester Trust and perhaps Worcestershire County Council, PROW, about that, but it's minor compared to what we've seen in other places like Shropshire and Powys on the Severn Way, and indeed earlier on the Geoparkway, but still delightful, still peaceful, still beautiful. So this road will actually take us up a significant part of Abberley Hill. We're about 65 metres ASL at the moment, by the time we turn off this road will be 110 metres. So most of the way up to the top of the hill. So I'm making way up this ridge, which is in effect the most northerly extreme of the Malvern Hills series, although different rock formations, as I'll explain a little bit later in the walk. I've come round to an unusual location. The footpath of Geoparkway is just down there. This is what was once Shaver's End Quarry. It's a slightly unusual name. I'm not going to go right up to it, so it banks right up there. There's a sheer drop down the other side and there's lakes there, so I certainly ain't going. There's barbed wire there as well, though you could get over that, but I don't fancy doing that, particularly not on my own. But just to tell you about the rocks in this area, now they have found lots of interesting fossils in this area. The other thing to note is that there's great big chunks of rock, which is obviously what they've carved out of the quarry, and obviously they didn't want these particular bits for whatever reason. What date this closed, I don't know. If I can find that out, I'll put it in below. But you'll notice that the colour of the rocks here are different. Obviously we've been walking along the red sandstone, the Triassics, haven't we, since we started at Bridgenorth till, well, where we were at Stourport earlier on here. But what you notice here is that they've gone grey. Now a really weird thing happens at this point in terms of geology, which is, I always find quite mind-blowing, is that these rocks are, they're actually underneath some of the older rocks. Yeah, it doesn't make sense, does it? Because normally the older rocks are underneath and the newer rocks are on top. But here it's the other way round. So the newer rocks are underneath the older rocks. Yes, you heard that right. How does that happen? Well, it's actually due to extreme forces upon the earth, tectonic plates and all that, rocks being crushed, and then they're folded on top and on back of themselves. So what was originally at the base folds right round 380 degrees to then lie on the top of the newer ones, and that's exactly what's happened here. And how do they know that? Well, all due to fossil dating. But unfortunately, because it's a steep slope and I'm on my own, if I fall down there and break my leg, the signal's here poor, I ain't going to risk it. So if I was with somebody else, I probably would. But you would probably, if you explored around, you'd probably find some interesting fossils. But yeah, Shaver's End Quarry, if I can find some stock photos on the internet and put some more dates about the quarry, I will do. Let's continue on to the village of Abberley. The other thing to mention about the Geo Park Way is the fact it's one geological feature. It's one long range of hills, which takes in here Abberley Hills. A bit further south, which we'll be coming across next, is the Sukeley Hills, the Malvern Hills of course, and going round to May Hill. But it's all, in effect, one continuous range. But what you'll notice about that range, it's not in a straight line. Now often geological features, like ranges of hill, are in lines. Think of like the Andes and San Andreas fault there, one line. But the line from Bridgenorth down to Gloucester isn't one continuous line. The hills don't lie in a straight line. They do curves, as we've been doing here on the Geo Park Way, because it's not a straight line walk. It's most definitely circular. Well, not circular, but bends and twists. Why is that then? Well, again, because like the geological forces I just mentioned there, whether you have the older rocks lying on top of the newer rocks, it's meant that that line, that original line of the hills, has been bent and warped. So what would have been one continuous line of hills, which would have come together like that with forces on both sides pushing them up. After that, forces have been going from side to side pushing the rock upwards. It would have then become twisted with various fault lines then pulling them apart in various different directions to the most unlinear line that we have today following the Geopark Way. Now it's worth pointing out at this point we've joined up with two other friends, two other walks, one of which is the Abberley, should I say, circular walk, which takes you in around this very large village here in Worcestershire. And also the Worcestershire Way. So you have the Worcestershire Way, the Gloucestershire Way, Herefordshire Way, making up the three counties. And the Worcestershire Way, I can't remember how many miles, but it crisscrosses the entire county of Worcestershire. And there we are on the Geopark Way, heading along there. Now this needs a little bit of explanation, the view in front of me, and why my heart is pounding and also feeling a little bit emotional. Now when I did the Severn Way, when I got to Bewdley, the bridge there, Telford's famous bridge, and also to both Worcester, Gloucester and Bristol, I felt quite emotional because they were like main points along the walk, because I know those places. Well, here we're looking at the Malvern Hills, the ridge of the Malvern Hills, which is the same Malvern Hills that I can see from where I live in Gloucestershire. So here obviously I'm looking back towards the Malvern Hills from the northerly direction here, Abberley, and I look at it from the other direction where I live in Gloucestershire. But yeah, they're the same Malverns. So that, yeah, it's kind of a bit of a lump in the throat moment when you see that, because obviously we've walked here from the town of Bridgnorth in Shropshire, where you obviously couldn't see the Malverns, but here we definitely can. And obviously the highest peak there, Worcestershire Beacon, and that will become more and more prominent as we head south to the city of Gloucester. Well, we've now arrived at Ranscombe Coppice, now managed by the Woodland Trust here on Abberley Hill. I think that's quite a new sign and new gating there. But unfortunately we don't go that way. The Worcestershire Way, the Geoparkway and the Abberley Village Trail goes up and up and up and up. I've just found out a little bit more information about Shaver's End Quarry. There is an interpretive board there provided by the Earth Heritage Hereford and Worcester Trust, something like that. I know they're based at the University of Worcester, and I'll put links to it at the end of the Geoparkway video today. And it was limestone, specific type of limestone. The name's gone completely out of my head, but it's 420 million years old, and it's mixed in with mudstones, siltstones, which made it very, very suitable for road building. So that's kind of what it was looking for, or just to see which way we're going. I've lost the Geoparkway sign. I think we go this way, but the Geoparkway sign's gone missing, so I think we're going to go through that, because that takes you to the Woodland Trust coppice there. So yeah, it's 420 million years old, and it was really suitable for road building, and it closed at the end of the 20th century, so about 25 years ago. And as the sign says there, it's very, very dangerous to go in it, because you've got very deep lakes, very deep sides to it, and there's lots of abandoned machinery in the area, so yeah, you don't want to go near it. But good to have that sign telling us a little bit more about the quarry here near the village of Abberley. So we're going through the woodland here. Can't quite see the views that way, they're obscured a little bit by the trees here, so I don't know if the views are going to open out at all before we get to our final destination on Geoparkway 4. Fortunately, there's been a little bit of a problem between arriving here in the village of Abberley and where you last saw me on top of Abberley Hill, namely the rain. And when I say rain, I mean a lot of rain, hence the raincoat. And it meant I had to put my camera away, and I was been unable to film very much between the ridge and here, although it's beautiful. I mean, stunningly beautiful, but of course with the rain, the views, well, they block off because it just goes grey and misty, doesn't it? I'm here at the moment in St Mary's and St Michael's. The reason I'm sounding a bit kind of disorientated, apart from the weather, is the fact that this place is absolutely stunning. It's actually originally a Saxon church, but it's a Norman, so it's Norman built on Saxon foundations. There's a part of a ruin outside of it. I really need to come back here to do this place justice, because this is one of several churches in and around the village of Abberley. And I came through a place called the Hill Abberley. I'm currently in the village Abberley, and my car is parked at the common Abberley, which is about it's over a mile away. So I need to wrap the video up. But what I'm going to do is, on Geoway Part 5, we will start here. We're going to start here in Abberley, and the next walk will be a shorter one to Martley. All of the hills around here are absolutely stunningly beautiful, and there is the Abberley Hills Conservation Trust. I think it's like an offshoot of the Malvern Hills Conservation Trust to look after this area, and the whole of this area is absolutely swamped in amazing history, which involves the Saxons, the Normans, the Romans, the Celts from over in Wales, which isn't that far away. It all happens here at Abberley. It's a very quiet and rural backwater these days here in Worcestershire, but that wasn't always the case, and I hope to bring you the entire story of it next time on Geoway Park 5. Well, I hope you've enjoyed Geoparkway Part 4 from the town of Stourport on Severn to here, Abberley, which is steeped in history and beauty. And I hope to bring that to you next time when it's hopefully not raining, where we walk over to Martley, which will be a shorter section. But amazing water. I particularly like to see those caves. That was incredible. Looking at the site of where the quarry was, and the church at Astley and the churchyard all round there has been beautiful, and the landscapes have been, well, it's just blown me away, as well as, of course, the geology, which I like. And I hope you appreciate the geology as we walk through it and make our way south to the city of Gloucester here on the Geo Park Way. But the next time it'll be a shorter one, but we will concentrate on Abberley first, and this area. We'll explore it in more detail before we make our way south towards Martley. I may have to do that as like a walk to and a back, because I'm not sure if there's any public transport to get me to Martley or back again, so I might have to park in Abberley and kind of walk to Martley and walk back, if you know what I mean. But that won't be a problem because it's such a beautiful, beautiful area, so exploring it here. Until next time on West Country Wanderings, take care of yourselves, look out for yourselves, and hope to see you on the channel again very, very soon. All the best for now. Cheers. Goodbye.